All right. All good. All right. Sharon Goodall, FightHype.com. I'm here with the man himself, Danny Garcia, who makes his ring return October 18th at the Barclays Center, which, I've said it many times. This is obviously your other residence. I don't know if you have a bed in the back or you own some state, but, it's the farewell to Brooklyn. And I know we've been talking about this for a very long time, but getting to the aspect of just training, like how does it feel to be training in this situation? How has it been?
First training was, I'm not gonna lie, it was tough. It was tough. It was tough in the beginning. Just getting my timing back and just getting my body back at that level.
Mhm.
It was tough, but now I'm a week and a half out and I feel like Danny Garcia.
Mhm.
I feel great. I feel great mentally, physically. I just sparred 10 rounds on Saturday. I sparred hard rounds yesterday. I just ran this morning. I feel great. I feel like I'm 25 years old again.
That's awesome. The transparency. Most times, fighters, I'm sure you growing up, not to show any form of quote weakness, even though it's
Yeah.
it's normal to just get back in the training camp and it's hard. But why so comfortable to just kind of say like, it was tough, it was hard, like at this point, like,
Yeah, because anybody who knows boxing is this is not a group. This is not an easy sport.
mhm,
You got to go. You got to wake up every day mentally and physically strong to get this job done.
mhm,
You got to eat. You got to be disciplined. You got to get your rest. You got to eat the right foods.
mhm,
You got to go in there and train hard every day. So I'm not gonna sit here and say it was easy when it wasn't.
mhm,
I want it to be hard. I want the training to be a tough situation. So that
mhm,
way, when I fight, it'd be easy.
mhm.
So that's what you want.
It feels like throughout the last couple years, there's like a comfort level you have. Because I know from your backstory, you essentially box, but you've always had this like bravado where you just didn't show any vulnerability. You've always held the toughness in, just the
Yeah.
traditional macho man status, right?
Right.
But now it almost seems like you're free flowing. You've kind of conquered whatever made you feel uncomfortable or you kind of just pushed to the side. Has that made you not just a better person, but just a better fighter? And you kind of wish you kind of had that, attitude or maybe not at those times.
Yeah. At the end of the day, um, I'm not gonna sit here and fake it. You know what I mean? That's how you create pressure on yourself
Hmm.
when you just try to act like everything's okay. Sometimes it's not gonna be okay. Sometimes it is. But at the end of the day, I'm just here to keep it real. That's it. And I know if I'm keeping it real to myself and I'm keeping it real to the people around me, we all on the same page and
Hmm.
we can all build from that. And that's the most important thing for me.
Like on a deep topic, a lot of times I've heard fighters, I think even something like Terrence uttered something where it was like, if his trainers or like Bomac or something happened, I don't know if boxing would be something I would be looking forward to. And I know some people are blessed, like you, from your father, from pretty much the inception, after you lost that tournament to he's like, all right, I'm going to be your trainer to now.
Yeah.
Do you look at overall, that's the biggest blessing that you're able to do this with your father from start to finish?
Yeah, for sure. For me, like to me, um, that's the only thing that's gonna make me sad in this sport is like not finishing with everybody I started with.
Hmm.
There's a lot of friends I had, they're not friends no more. There's a lot of people that used to be around. There's not around no more. People in my corner, there's not around no more. Just people I really started with.
Hmm.
Um, there's not gonna be I had at the finish line with me.
Hmm.
But me and Angel, this is always the dream of ours. To start together and finish together. And that's
Hmm.
what we're doing.
You know what's crazy? I saw prior to this interview, I just had to look back at some classics, and there was one that it's so long ago, and I remember the first time I watched it. It was so iconic. I think I watched it on World Star, and it was that the scene with the puppet. It was
Keenan
super violent,
Live.
and you were showing the belt like he's like, oh, that's what hard work do. Well,
Yeah.
this is
With
what
the
the
38.
38 do. Please tell me, like I'm like the biggest fan of
That's the
that.
first time I ever got robbed from my belt.
But the
Before
whole
30.
but please tell me the whole setup. I need to know the backstory because I'm just as much as a fan of you as a boxer,
Yeah.
but that's so iconic.
Yeah. So the guy who does Peanut Live, he's actually from the same neighborhood as me,
Mhm.
Junietta in Philly. So I remember at that time he was going viral. He was like, "Yo, Danny, I just won the belt." He was like, "Yo, let's do a clip together." And I remember when we did it, it just went viral. And like people know me to this day from that. Like they didn't even know I was a real champion. They just thought I was like a little character. That's how big Peanut Live was. Well, people come today and be like, "I remember you from Peanut Live."
Hmm.
But yeah, that's how it went. It was just like, "Yo, Danny, let's do a video," because he used to get a haircut at the barbershop.
Word.
Yeah, yeah, the guy behind the camera.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say his name because he likes to be low key, but yeah, he used to get a haircut at the barber shop and stuff like that. So we used to always talk, and then we just did it. That was it.
You ever think you can like resurrect? Because the activity isn't there for a minute, and it's
Yeah.
iconic. He does all
You know,
the.
that video is still going viral to this day. I don't know
Mhm.
if you've seen it.
It's
Yeah,
constantly everywhere. I'm like
yeah,
I said, like I've seen
yeah.
it on World Star back in the day. So.
It's still going viral to this day.
Another moment, just kind of like recapturing your career is it was a moment at Modell's, right? Like I know when you and Zab were getting ready for the fight, but he crashes in and kind of the whole hype up, right? Getting everything together. But another thing, I just was curious, like, what was that whole entire experience like? Because, the Barclays Center was relatively new. I know probably Modell was like, "Oh, this is great." Then they're probably like, "Oh man, this sucks." Like, talk
Yeah,
talk to me through it. Like just that moment of time of just all the
that was
crazy.
just real. Everything was real. It was like the young hungry lion going into Zab Judah's hometown in Brooklyn,
Hmm.
and we just everything you saw was the real deal. But at the end of the day, me and Zab cool now.
Yeah.
We never had beef. It was just business. But at that time, it was real beef, and it was like it was just we just every throwing every all the marbles was on the table. It was what it was. It's a fight. It was just
Hmm.
what boxing needs.
Was it fun, like looking back at it? Just kind of like, man, those type of moments, you don't realize, those
Yeah,
type
that
of.
that 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 was crazy though, to Zab, because I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm coming out of Brooklyn. I gotta look behind my shoulder. I see Zab dude over there posted with 30 dudes. I'm like, oh man, we about to fight. So it was real for sure. But
Mhm.
it was some crazy moments. Yeah, that moment was crazy. That was a crazy moment.
You know,
That's something people want to talk about for a long time.
I still watch it. That's why I'm bringing these things up, you know. My last kind of moment back in the day, and it's kind of like moments, right? It's always been, you know, normal for boxing. I know fight fans get in, they want everyone to fight, but it's always normal for brotherhood to kind of exist, even around certain weight classes. And like you and Broner have always kind of had a respectful relationship, regardless of what the media or what people are trying to manufacture. But I know that you guys have always been embracing each other, especially on camera. He will come back, say stuff like bounce back, like a bad check. And, you guys will always be on Showtime talking together. So just in hindsight now, like how much has that helped you and him just throughout this business since, you guys are kind of at the tail end?
I mean, me and Bruno always been cool. We came up together. Um, Believe it or not, he inspired me to work hard.
Mhm.
Because it was always like friendly competition. Seeing Broner do his thing, and I'm like, nah, I got to keep up. You know what I mean? So it was always like friendly competition at that time. But what Broner has done is just amazing. He's the youngest four division world champion ever in
Mhm.
boxing history. And I think a lot of people overlook what he's done,
Mhm.
and he's fought a lot of great fighters. But and that's a fight that people always wanted to see.
Mhm.
Garcia versus Broner. Who knows? Maybe we could do an exhibition one day, just and make
Yeah.
a lot of money. I think people would love to see that.
I mean, I think there's so many
Exhibition fight,
opportunities.
Danny Garcia versus Broner.
Do you guys still hit each other up pretty often?
Yeah, for sure. I was just on the phone with him a couple weeks ago because I wanted him actually to commentate my fight.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I wanted him to commentate my fight. I'm like, man, I gotta look out for AB, man.
Hmm.
So, but I don't know what happened with it. I don't know what happened with it. I think he might be at the fight though, for sure.
That's awesome. I know when you get that type of attention, a lot of people always kind of take advantage of it, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not pointing fingers or whatnot, but I know that, Broner's always a guy that gets criticized, even at times unjustly. So just every year it just seems like, he's kind of like the guy that everyone kind of wants to like make a headline out. And so with that, because I know you're so low key, just in general, like when you guys talk, like do you guys ever just brush on those type of conversations and just kind of keep each other grounded in this kind of
We
world?
I don't ever really talk about internet stuff to other people
Hmm.
because I know like some people don't like that.
Hmm.
It's like it's just the internet. Like I hope nobody comes to me like, yo, somebody left a hate comment. Like, bro, I don't care about that.
Hmm.
I mean, I got real life problems,
Yeah.
you know? So one thing about the internet is like if you put your business out there, it's their business now. So if they say
Hmm.
something, you can't be mad. That's one thing I learned about it. If you don't want nobody knowing your business, don't put nothing out there. Because once you make it people business, then it's like it's the business. So they can say, but you can say whatever you want to say about me. If I post a picture of trainer, oh he's slow, he's a bum, he's the
Hmm.
greatest. I appreciate everything. That's just how I learned to be in this today's age.
Just getting back on track of the concept of the internet, right? And I
Yeah.
know we had a break in the interview because your driveway is like 10 miles long, right? So
No reception.
you
Crazy.
know first world problems or super first world problems. But
Right.
how do you think like this generation of fighters have to navigate because they need the internet to a certain degree, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what the new fan base kind of connects to.
Yeah.
So where's that balance where, not saying you didn't need to do it because you were in the inception of the internet and the world star, but how does fighters now kind of have to make themselves, popular and popping with it?
It's crazy because my generation, we know what it was before the internet.
Hmm.
So we knew how life was before the internet. So like I knew how to train and like before, if you weren't in the papers or like the local news and that, nobody knew who you were.
Hmm.
So um, but now it's like it's way different because you could be known to the masses and like one post could change your whole life. And I think when it comes so easy like that and you never been criticized just by being on the paper or you never been criticized by being on the news and one day you wake up, you're all over the world, nobody ever prepared you, like I said, for the backlash or the hate.
Hmm.
So that's why it's like it's levels to fame where that you can learn as you go how to deal with certain things. But because of the internet you can be a sensation overnight and no one ever told you like, look, this is a crazy world, everyone's not gonna love
Hmm.
you. Everyone's not gonna think you look good. Everybody's not gonna like you. It's just how the game is. So you gotta take it how it is. Like all the young guys, like everybody's not gonna like you. As long as they talking about you, that means you're doing something good. Because I was always told if they ain't talking about you, you better be worried.
Hmm.
You're nobody. So they talk about you, that's good. Just sometimes it's irkful, but you gotta learn how to deal with it.
Do you feel like it can affect like the guys like the Tanks, the Shakors, the Ryans, the Tios because they kind of have to engage with it
Yeah.
to kind of hit their fan base, but at the same time, I've heard many people say, and I'm not talking about them specifically saying that they have this issue, but sometimes it can affect the fighter mentally, and maybe they either think they're like here, but they're probably not or they're so involved on that it actually changes how they fight or stuff like that. So I mean, is that something you see that can affect these kids?
I think the higher level fighters, they that fuels them.
Hmm.
Like certain fighters like when people talk about them or doubt them, makes them go, makes them train harder, makes them step their game up. Because that's how I am. But then again, you got some fighters, it might discourage them.
Hmm.
Like, damn, why people don't like me and stuff like that. They tune into the bad stuff. So it just gotta stay locked in, man. Believe in your dreams, and as long as you believe, that's all that matters. Everyone's not gonna believe in your journey. Everyone's not gonna believe in your skills. So you just gotta stay locked in.
Do you think right now, because it's always hard to follow up like from the last great fighter, right? Like Terrence just did his thing with Canelo, and it kind of seems that Jaron Ennis has kind of got the exception of just trying to exist and try to be great himself,
Yeah,
but it kind of collapses on him now because it almost seems for tit for tat, anything that the expectation that was on this guy now goes to this
yeah,
guy, but tenfold because they're in the same generation. Kind of like when Floyd was leaving and it kind of left you and Thurman and
yeah.
like, and it's kind of
Right.
like you guys have to be your own person in your generation. So could you see a little bit of like what you had to go through when like you couldn't
Yeah,
fight the
absolutely.
Pacquiao Floyd?
Um, I think a lot of people compare it because they're like similar a little bit. You know what I mean? But I feel like anytime there's a young great fighter and then there's a fighter who's on his way out who's great, they kind of like align at a moment, and then people just want to see them fight.
Hmm.
But I feel like that's a good sign for Ennis because once they start comparing you to those type of guys, that means you're the next guy up. So all he has to do is just stay in his own lane and just keep doing what he's doing.
Hmm.
And he'll be that guy because he's still young. He got another 10 years left in the game.
What was it?
Crawford has probably a couple more fights left and he's done, if that.
Was it frustrating though at a point? Because I know you and Floyd had a great relationship, so like, and you understood the business, but just because you just wanted to get the opportunity to fight anyone. I know there was the Pacquiao fight that you didn't get, but kind of like that passing of the torch where if it doesn't light the next one over, you kind of just get stuck in this no man land for a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but boxing changes quick.
Hmm.
Boxing takes a turn quick, and it's just one bad performance by either guy, and it's like they're not even talking about that fight anymore. That's how crazy boxing is.
Hmm.
Like, oh, he's not ready, or this, that. So just gotta focus on what's in front of you and just keep building from that.
Do you see those similarities with you and Jerron? Just in the case of just now you have to put on Philly and essentially take the sport, not just the city, but the sport to that next level and kind of gain the new fans out there.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think definitely the next great fighter out of Philly and one of the best pound fighters. So he's definitely up next. Definitely one of the special guys in the game. That's 100% sure.